All you want is a loaf of bread and a crate of eggs. The price is a little bit more expensive than the last time, but you shrug your shoulders and pay. However, you keep thinking about it, and that's when it hits you that not just the bread and eggs, but even bacon, veggies and everything costs much more than they did a few years ago. You think to the price of rent, cars, phones, clothes, and realize it's the same case. It feels like no matter how hard people work, their money just doesn't stretch as far as it used to. What's actually happening? Why is everything becoming so expensive? This is Capital Lens. We simplify personal finance, money and financial systems, and company strategies. So if you're a student or an entrepreneur or someone who loves business, click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Now back to the video. The answer isn't just a simple word or thing. It's a combination of many different factors working together. Let's break it down in the simplest way possible. Imagine a small village. Let's imagine there are 100 people in this small village. Amongst them, the village has one farmer growing food, one baker making bread, one carpenter building furniture, one mechanic fixing bicycles. Everyone earns money by doing their jobs. Everything is balanced. The farmer sells wheat, the baker buys wheat and makes bread, the carpenter buys food, the mechanic fixes everyone's bikes. Prices stay fairly stable because everyone can make enough goods for everyone else. Now, let's see what happens when that balance changes. 1. Things cost more to make. Imagine the farmer suddenly has problems. Maybe there's a drought. Maybe fertilizer becomes expensive. Now growing wheat costs twice as much. The farmer can't afford to keep selling wheat at the old price, so he raises his prices. Now the baker has to pay more for wheat. Since making bread costs more, the baker raises bread prices too. Customers now pay more. Nothing magical happened. It simply became more expensive to produce the bread. This is what is happening all around the world. Companies pay more for electricity, fuel, raw materials, shipping, packaging, wages, rent. When businesses spend more money making products, customers usually end up paying more too. 2. Transportation costs. Think about your favorite chocolate bar. The cocoa may come from one country, the sugar from another, the packaging from somewhere else. The factory could be thousands of miles away. Finally, trucks deliver it to your local store. Every step requires transportation. Transportation requires fuel. If fuel becomes expensive, moving products becomes expensive. If moving products becomes expensive, stores raise prices. That's why rising fuel prices affect almost everything. 3. Inflation. Inflation means money loses purchasing power over time. Imagine you have $10 today. $10 buys 2 pizzas. A few years later, that same $10 only buys 1 pizza. The pizza didn't become twice as good. Your money simply doesn't buy as much anymore. That's inflation. Most countries experience inflation every year. A small amount is considered normal, but when inflation gets high, people notice it everywhere. Why does inflation happen? One reason is when there's more money than goods. Imagine there is only a loaf of bread for sale, but 100 people want it. The seller realizes everyone is competing, so instead of charging $100, they charge $1,000. The price rises because demand is higher than supply. This happens with houses, cars, concert tickets, hotel rooms, even eggs. When lots of people want something but there isn't enough, prices usually go up. 4. Shortages. Sometimes the world simply doesn't produce enough. Maybe factories close. Maybe workers are sick. Maybe bad weather ruins crops. If stores receive fewer products, they can't meet demand. Less supply usually means higher prices. 5. Higher wages. Many people ask for higher wages because life is becoming more expensive. Businesses agree and pay workers more. That sounds great. But there's another side. If a restaurant now spends much more paying employees, it often raises menu prices. The extra cost is passed to customers. This doesn't mean paying workers more is bad. It simply means businesses often recover those costs through higher prices. 6. Energy prices. Modern life runs on energy. Electricity powers factories. Fuel powers trucks. Gas heats buildings. All helps make plastics. If energy prices rise, every business spends more. Factories cost more to operate. Shipping becomes more expensive. Food becomes more expensive. Manufacturing becomes more expensive. 7. Global events. The world is more connected than ever. If a major food-producing country has a bad harvest, food prices rise. If an important shipping route is blocked, deliveries slow down. If countries stop trading with each other, goods become harder to get. Even if you live thousands of miles away, you may still pay higher prices. So why don't prices go back down? This is something many people wonder. If fuel becomes cheaper, why doesn't everything become cheaper too? There are several reasons for this as well. Businesses may have signed expensive contracts. Workers may now earn higher wages. Rent may still be expensive. Companies also know that lowering prices reduces profits, so prices often rise quickly, but fall very slowly. Why doesn't everyone just earn more money? At first, that sounds like the perfect solution. If everything costs twice as much, why not simply double everyone's salary? The problem is that businesses would then spend much more paying workers. To cover those costs, they'd often raise prices again. Then workers would ask for another raise. Prices would rise again. This cycle is sometimes called a wage price spiral. That's why governments try to control inflation. Instead of simply printing more money or endlessly increasing wages, what exactly do governments do? Governments and central banks try to slow inflation in different ways. Sometimes they increase interest rates. Higher interest rates make borrowing money more expensive. People borrow less. Businesses invest less. Demand slows down. When fewer people are competing to buy things, prices often rise more slowly. It's not a perfect solution, but it's one of the main tools used around the world. Will prices ever go back to the way they were? Usually, no. Most prices don't return to what they were years ago. Instead, they simply stop rising as quickly. Think of climbing a hill. Inflation is like walking uphill. Slowing inflation means you're climbing more slowly, but it doesn't mean you've walked back down the hill. That's why many products rarely return to their old prices. So in summary, everything is getting more expensive because of these factors working hand in hand. 1. It costs more to make products. 2. Transportation is more expensive. 3. Fuel and energy prices increase costs. 4. Inflation reduces the value of money. 5. Supply can't always keep up with demand. 6. Businesses face higher expenses and seek profits. 7. Global events disrupt trade and production. When all of these happen together, people notice higher prices almost everywhere, from groceries and rent to electronics and entertainment. Understanding why prices rise won't make your next shopping trip cheaper, but it does make the world a little less confusing. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like so more people find it and click the subscribe button so you don't miss our next video.